Welcome to Wellness with Liza. Do you or someone you know suffer with HS, Hidradenitis Suppurativa? If so, stay tuned to learn more about this condition and why I feel GLP-1s are helping with my condition. What is hidradenitis suppurativa? Hidradenitis suppurativa is a chronic inflammatory condition that causes painful lumps under the skin. They can appear anywhere where skin rubs together. Some of the places that you can get these painful lumps are under your arms, under your breasts, in between your thighs, and in your private areas. They can appear anywhere on your body where hair grows. I was diagnosed with hidradenitis suppurativa about 10 years ago. My condition started right after giving birth to my third child. I noticed a couple of months after giving birth to my third child that I started getting painful lumps up under my arms, but they were coming often. I did bring it up to my provider at the time that stated it's just your hormones trying to balance out and get back into position, and to just go home and do you some warm compresses, and if it gets worse, come back to see me. And that's what I did. However, it did go down. It did go away for a little while, but then a couple of weeks later it was back, and this time it came back with vengeance. When I tell you I couldn't walk properly, I couldn't get in and out of the shower properly, I couldn't drive, it was bad. So I ended up going back to the doctor a couple of times, and they referred me to a dermatologist. Once I got to the dermatologist and I raised my arm up, she said, "You don't have to say anything. I can already tell you what this is just from looking at it." She says, "You have hidradenitis suppurativa." And when she said those words, I was like, what? What is it called again? Where does it come from? How did I get this? I was very confused. So that's when I started my research on hidradenitis suppurativa, and my journey started from there. So yes, hearing that word was very confusing to me because I had never heard of anyone with this condition, and I had a lot of questions. Now, what caused hidradenitis suppurativa? It is still a mystery, but from my own personal research, it can be in your genetic makeup. While I don't know of anyone in my family that has hidradenitis suppurativa, someone may have it and just never said anything about it. A lot of people don't like to talk about the condition. Some people are embarrassed for having the condition because some people have it very, very bad, and it can take a toll on your mental health. So how has taking a GLP-1 helped me with hidradenitis suppurativa? So before starting a GLP-1 back in November of 2024, I was having flare-ups like crazy. If my family was sitting right here on side of me, they would tell you I was going through it. I'm talking about mentally, physically, emotionally. It was bad. It looked like every month I was dealing with flare-ups. It's like they were getting worse, and I couldn't put my finger on what I was doing. I tried doing the vegan lifestyle. I did that for about 60 days. to see if that would help me stop having as many flare-ups, and it somewhat did, but it seemed to have, just keep coming back, keep coming back. Then I tried to do the low carb diet, which that did kind of help, but again, it kept coming back. It'll put it in remission for maybe a couple of weeks, but then it would just come right back. So it's like everything that I was trying, it wasn't working. I couldn't think of what foods I was eating that was maybe triggering it. I just couldn't put my finger on it. But one thing I do know is when I started taking GLP-1s at the beginning of my journey, I think I've had maybe 2 flare-ups, but I knew that that was due to me just starting a new medication, and it had to I had to keep taking it a couple of times before it was actually in my body doing what it needed to do. So I still had a few flare-ups at the beginning of taking the GLP-1. I started off taking 2.5 Mounjaro. I think I lost maybe my first 30 pounds on 2.5. So that was good. During that time, I was still kind of struggling with flare-ups, going backwards and forth to the dermatologist. But then it looks like maybe 4 or 5 months into my GLP-1 journey, all of a sudden, I started getting less and less flare-ups. Like every month, I'm like, I didn't get a flare-up this month. The next month, I didn't get a flare-up this month. So I know for myself, again, I am not a doctor. I'm only telling you what has worked for me. But when I tell you a couple of months have went by, and every now and then I might eat something and I may feel like a little flare-up underneath my arms. I only get flare-ups up under my arms and up under my breasts. And when I tell you I may feel a little tenderness under there, but that's it. That is it. And I'm telling you, I've been feeling so good in my body. And I am just so thankful for not having a flare, because it seems like when I started having those flares back to back, when they were used to come and last for maybe 4 days, it looks like I was having a flare up for like 3 weeks. And like I said, it was really taking a toll on my mental health. And sometimes those flares are so bad that I couldn't, like I said, I couldn't drive. I have to have my kids to help me to undress, to be able to take a bath. My daughter have to come and help me to get out of the tub. And during that time when I was having those bad flare-ups, I had so much weight on me. And I do believe that taking the GLP-1 and losing the amount of weight that I have lost has really helped to put my HS back in remission. And I am so very thankful. And I know it's the GLP-1 medication, and I really wish that they would continue just to do more research and to test more people, have them taking the GLP-1s, those with HS, because I do believe that it has a huge effect on those flares. So again, I'm very thankful for that. And I have had this condition for a while. I know how painful it is. I know the stress that it puts on your body. And it's like when you have a flare up under your arm, your whole body is just sick. Your whole body just feels horrible. And then you can't exercise. It's like you don't want to do anything but just lay down. And you're just in constant pain. Anybody who have HS, they know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's so hard to explain your condition to other people, because they would just say, you need to go to the doctor. You need to tell your doctor to do something about it. The only thing the doctor or the dermatologist do is, if you have a flare up and it's ready to bust, because that's the only way you get relief, is once it releases. And when I say release, that is when it busts and all of the pus and all of that comes out. That's the only time you get relief. And then you have to deal with the drainage and the soreness. But the only thing they're going to do is, if you need to be released, they're going to cut you, they're going to release you, and they're going to give you some antibiotics. and they're going to send you home and tell you if you are experiencing fever, or if your condition is worsening, to come back to to come back to the hospital, or to see your dermatologist or your physician. I know some people, they get they get some of their lymph nodes cut out, in those areas. But the thing about that is, because my provider did ask one time when it was so bad, she was asking me to consider having surgery, but I was like, no, because the thing is you can have the surgery, but they're gonna come back, or they can come back. So I didn't want to get cut on. So some of the things that I do to help with some of my symptoms with my HS flare-ups: I look at my diet. I limit how much dairy I have. Now, I love, love, love cheese. I love cheese. As a matter of fact, I just had some for lunch today. I made a small pan of lasagna for my family, and I did have a very small slice of lasagna. So dairy is one of the things that you need to eat in moderation, because it has been shown in studies that it can cause you to flare up. Also, nightshade foods. Nightshade foods are foods that you may love to eat: tomatoes, eggplants, bell peppers, potatoes, chili peppers. If you put paprika in your food, cayenne pepper, and jalapenos are things. If you smoke, that is something you may want to get with your provider to see if you can get something to help you to stop smoking, because smoking is a big one also that is said to cause HS flares. Also, if you can, decrease your carbohydrates to at least 50 grams or less. If you drink beer, you may want to look into how much alcohol you are drinking per day or per week. Things like pickles, anything that has vinegar in it, is so many things that can cause you to go into a flare-up. So watching your diet is one thing that you want to do. Also, by losing weight, that has helped me. Also, making sure that even though you're not having flare-ups in certain areas, but if you do have a certain area that you flare up in a lot, make sure that you are cleaning that area morning, noon, and night. A good product would be HibaCleanse. It helps to keep bacteria down. Not using razors. I don't use razors at all. Now, every now and then, I will use Nair, and some people say they don't care for Nair either because it burns them up under the arms. So if you're having an issue with that, you may not want to use Nair. But that is what I use to just kind of get some of that hair from under your arms. It's so many things that you can do. Remember to do your own research and do what works for you. Thank you again for tuning in to Wellness with Liza. I know my lighting is not the best, not at this time, but I promise you it will get better. It's a beautiful day, and again, I just decided to sit outside in my backyard to film this video for you. So have a wonderful day.